Welcome to WGU. I am so happy to get to help you through your degree plan. Today we're going to review your My WGU student portal, your degree plan, and visit your first course. There is a lot of information in this video, so please revisit it or reach out to your student mentor if you have any questions. Your student mentor will also review this information in a later call. Today's objectives include your student portal, your degree plan, recap of the major points in both, the communication protocol, and your next steps as a student. Your student portal homepage, and this is where you begin as a student. Your portal homepage is a jump-off point for most of what you do here at WGU. The student portal homepage includes your My Mentor section, which is where your student mentor information is kept, your My Courses, that once you are enrolled in your classes, your courses will be here. Until then, they will be under your degree plan. My News is an area for announcements. The Program Progress area will show how you're doing in your program as well as in your term. My Schedule is a Google Calendar, so you can use that to update your schedule and have it right here in the middle of your portal to keep up to date on things. There is the My Email, My Communities, and your to-do list that you can update yourself. To view your student progress, you go to the top right corner of your portal page. First, you'll see that you have your program progress, and this is how far you've gotten in your BSN. In the middle is where your projected graduation date is, and to the left is for the term that you're currently in. You'll notice that 2 out of the 3 flags are blue and 1 is green. Blue signifies that you're done. You've got the blue ribbon and that class is done. If you have a green flag, then there's still more that needs to be done in that class. And you'll see the blue and the green in many of your different classes, as well as around in different aspects of your degree plan. At the bottom of your portal homepage, you will find your email and your communities. Your communities are unique to you and the courses that you're in. Your email is something that you need to get used to checking every day. This is where you will get information from your student mentor, from your course mentors, as well as from WGU. Your personal email is also this email here that you need to use while communicating with those at WGU. It is important to make sure that your contact information is up to date and we have the right phone number and the right address. The phone number that's listed as your primary number is the number that your student mentor will be calling, as well as course mentors if you request a meeting with them. And your address is where your care package with your proctor camera will come. And in the end, when this is all done, that's where that bachelor degree will be delivered to. You can find it under the Resources tab at the top of your portal homepage and then under Your Information. Degree plan. This is roughly what your degree plan will look like. Yours will only have 4 classes and it'll start with term 1, but this is the best picture I could find. Your degree plan at the top has your timeline. Your timeline has the blue for the terms that are completed, the bright green is for the term that you're currently in, and the dark green shows what you have left to do. So, once again, want to turn things blue and less green. Below your timeline is your scenario calculator, and this is a nifty little tool because you can use this calculator to see, how many classes do I need to do to get this class done in a year? Or how much is it going to cost if I do it in 3 terms instead of 4? And you can play around with that calculator and see how it affects the time you're in classes, how many classes you need to get done to meet a personal timeline, and how much it's going to cost. Below that is where it says show completed terms. That's where you're going to find all the term information for what was transferred in from your previous college. And as you complete terms, that's where they're going to be housed. Now down here in the actual degree plan, you'll see that in yours, you should have 4 classes in each term. The minimum that you're going to do to keep on-time progress is 12 credit units per term, which roughly is 4 classes per term. Some classes are 4 credit units because they have a lab aspect, but most classes are 3. And if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see that it has the green flags. And the green flags mean that this is how many credit units this course has, as well as being green, this is not a class that you've completed. Next to that is the name of the class. And then if you move further to the right, you'll see the O's and the P's that you learned about in orientation. O's are objective assessments and P's are performance assessments. And this lists what is expected for each class based on the competencies in that class. And as you finish them, those will also turn blue. So once again, one will see as much blue as we can. And then at the very far right, you will see the start and end dates for each class. Roughly, classes run about 6 weeks. So we have start and end dates to kind of break up that 6 months that you have to get everything done. That way you have an idea of how to stay on track, because 6 months can go by really. You can finish classes before your end dates, and that is a great way to start accelerating classes into your term. But you need to watch about ending classes after your end dates, because then you're borrowing time from other classes and it gets really tight and very stressful at the end of 6 months if you haven't given yourself enough time to finish that last class in your term. And again, you need 12 credit units per term to stay on time progress. So let's go look at your first class. Older adult is what most nursing students start with. It is a general class about gerontology, and you guys usually have, even if you're not a med-surg or a gerontology nurse, at least background in it from nursing school. Now, you'll see at the top the name of the class, and on the right-hand side, you see that you can download it as a PDF. If you download it as a PDF, then you lose all the hyperlinks, but you can see it when you're offline. If you go back to the left-hand side, you'll see the first area is your status bar. And as you go through the class and you check things off as completed, it turns from green to blue. And it's a really nice tool to see how much more reading and how many more things you need to do to finish that class. And it gives you a nice way to pinpoint how much you want to do in a given week. For care of the older adult, you should get 25% done a week at the minimum. So week 1, you want to have 25% of that bar turn blue, and week 2, 50%. On the left, or down below the status bar, is your study plan. And in the study plan, that is where the information for your class is mostly housed. The introduction is the first page that's shown here, and generally there's an introductory video. And those are great to watch because the course mentors are using that video as a way to let you know how to start the class and what you need to do to be successful in the class. In the middle here, you will find the tabs for your course material, the Learning Resource tab, and your Assessment tab. And then to the very far right is the Community. So let's go to the Assessment tab. We're going to see what you have to do to demonstrate competency in your class. For care of the older adult, it has an objective and a performance assessment. Yours will look a little different now because your genetic certification, you no longer have to turn in this task stream, it gets directly uploaded. But most classes, I wanted to be able to show you where to find it here. So the first square is your pre-assessment. If you have an objective assessment, then you also have a pre-assessment. In some classes where you already have knowledge, you start with the pre-assessment. Some classes, if you don't have knowledge in that class, it's not good to start this way. So it's something to talk about with your student mentor. The next box down is your objective assessment or your final. And then below that, it will be your task stream assignments. when you take your pre-assessment, when you go there, you will see a button here that lets you take your pre-assessment. You can take 3 pre-assessments, but they are all the exact same test. So you don't want to do one right after another. It's not very helpful. The pre-assessment is a tool to show what areas you are already competent in and which areas you need to focus on in order to pass the final. Once you pass your pre-assessment and you are given permission by your student mentor to take your final, down here on the OA area, you will see a Take Now button. And you hit that button and that will take you into ProctorU and show you from there how to schedule your test. And then in your task stream area, you will see a WGU competency button, or you may see a Begin Now button. If you have a Begin Now button in a course, and some courses have these, you want to check that right away because you aren't actually assigned the task stream project yet until you hit the Begin Now button. It takes 24 to 48 hours for that button to activate your account. So you don't want to hit that when you're ready to turn things in, or else it holds you up for a day or two while the system catches up to you. So in this area, it's always good to check if you have a Begin Now and get that done at the beginning of the course rather than wait until you're trying to turn something in and then it's all stressed out. So when you take your pre-assessment, you'll hit your button here and you'll take your pre-assessment, and afterwards in this area on the right hand side of the box where it shows your item numbers, there will be a link to your coaching report. And let's go look at your coaching report. This is a student coaching report for Care of the Older Adult. If you look up at the top, you'll see that the student passed. The cut score is 66% and that student got a 70. Now, a cut score of 66% is not the 66% that we're used to. 66% as the cut score for this class is the bottom of a B. A 65 would be a C. Cut scores at WGU are made based on the difficulty of the test, the number of questions, and there's this big formula. But what's important to know is whatever the cut score is competency and a B. So you want to score above that cut score. Ideally on a pre-assessment, you want to score about 10 points above a cut score. Then you know that you're going to do good on that final. So this student scored a 70 out of over the 66. So they did well, but there's still some areas that need to be touched on. Now, if you move down in the coaching report, you'll see that it's broken down by competency. And these are the competencies in Care of the Older Adult. The first one is compassionate and respectful care of older adults. And you'll see that the student got a 57% here. Well, that is quite a bit below the cut score. So we're going to want to spend some time in this area, read everything that's offered for it before we move on to the next. And each competency is broken down by topic. And we'll go over how that works in the reading when we get back to the main page. For the next competency, they scored an 83%. That is well above the cut score. So this is obviously an area that they already have this information. So instead of skipping it because you already know it, you still want to scan through it and make sure that nothing jumps out as something that you aren't familiar with, because your test is going to be an NCLEX style test. We are back to critical thinking again, an NCLEX style test for all your testing. So don't skip ones you score well in, but don't read everything. Just look through the material and make sure that you are familiar with it. On the next competency, they scored a 75. So I have another one where we're not going to have to spend a lot of time. But if you look, the next two competencies, one is 66 and one is 57. Scoring right on the cut score is not where you want to be. So you want to spend more time in this area, and definitely more time in one that you have scored lower on. You want to read everything that's presented there and look at whatever links they may lead you to, depending on what's required for this competency. I highly recommend printing your coaching report because you can use it as you go through the material in the class, and you're not trying to click back and forth between screens or trying to remember if you scored well in this part or if this was a part that you didn't score well on. It's just nicer to have that paper with you. To the main page, over in your study plan, you're going to see those topics that we had on your coaching report. Right here you'll see where it says compassionate and respectful care of the older adult. So, and below that is attitude and interactions and planning patient-centered care. And those were the two topics under that competency. If you click onto that competency, it'll open your topics and then you move into your reading. And this is the beginning of your reading here. You'll see the topic of the title of the topic as well as the competency and the learning objectives in the first square. Now, learning objectives are something that they're actually quite important. This is how they test to make sure that you learned what they're planning you to learn in this class. So these are obviously going to be test questions later on. So as you're reviewing the information, it's good to come back to those and see if you change them into questions, if you can answer them. Below here in the next square is the beginning of the reading. And you'll see that your reading starts pages 7 and 8 in attitudes towards aging and older adults, and then there's a hyperlink to chapter 1. When you click that hyperlink, it's going to take you to Bookshelf. And Bookshelf is an app that's external from WGU, but it's where your books are kept. And what's cool about it being an app is you can download that app on your smartphone and your tablets, and your book then is now accessible away from your laptop or your computer. For Bookshelf, you do have to register for it the first time, but once you get registered, it's on all those devices, and so is your book. So when you click the next hyperlink, it'll go right to where you need to be. So once you read 7 through 8, you have to read pages 16 through 22, and then go look at the table that's listed below, and that is all that is required for attitudes towards aging and older adults. Below you'll see there are answer these questions in your notebook questions. These questions were put here by the course mentors as a way to kind of guide you on the information that's important in this section and to keep that information for yourself to review for the final. So your notebook can be whatever you want it to be. It can be a spiral notebook, it can be on your computer, it can be however you want to do it. It's a study guide for you. And then once you're all done with that, you would check the check mark that's down here, and it'll turn that status bar more blue. And then hit the next button and go to the next topic. Your community is on the right-hand side in your class. This is where, once you're enrolled in the classes, your course mentor that you're assigned to will be in the course mentor area as well as their contact information. If you're working ahead before you're enrolled, you do have the generic group email account, and you can email that if you have any questions. And one of the course mentors is always watching that, and they'll get back to you. So you can use that before you start a class. You can also use it if you don't have something you specifically need to talk to your own course mentor about. When you're starting a class, it's a really good idea to contact your course mentor. Reach out to them right away. Let them know that here I am, and what do I need to do to be successful in your class? They always have something that they can give back to you, whether it's leading you to a study guide or tips on how to move through the class. They have something to help you be successful in that class. And you can start to build that relationship with your course mentor. Your course mentor, your student mentor, and you are part of a team that's all working towards getting you to that bachelor degree. Below your course mentor are the course announcements, course tips, and course search. This is where your course mentor talks to you, and they put in announcements, or they will lead you to live events. They will give you tips on what you need to do in the class. It varies from class to class, but it's a very important place to go. When you start a class, start with the introduction and then go through everything in the course announcements, course tips, and course search, because you're going to need that information eventually, so it's good to know it's there. The course chatter is like Facebook for this course. Each course has it, and the only people that are in that chatter are the people in that course. So in this one, people are discussing care of the older adult, or they're asking the course mentors questions about care of the older adult. And you can scroll through those questions and see what other people are asking. You can also search course chatter with a keyword search. If you hit Control and the F button, F like Frank, it'll open up a search box where you can search for if somebody else has asked the same question that you have. So you can put in like hearing aids and questions that were asked about hearing aids, and the answers to those questions will show up for you. So it's a good tool. It's also a tool that can be like Facebook and just kind of suck away your time. Down on the left-hand side, you also have your student support area. And when you open your student support area, this is where you'll find the writing lab, the library, and your ability to give feedback in your class. And giving feedback, positive and negative, at WGU causes classes to be frequently updated, so it's always a good idea to leave your feedback. Part of getting your bachelor degree requires that you take a genetics component for your classes. At WGU, instead of giving you a whole class, you do a self-study through the American Museum of Natural History. It is a genetics, genomics, and genetics in nursing, and you can find that in your study plan. Under Preparing for Success, it says Genomics and Adult Care. Clicking through there, you will come to the blue hyperlink where it says the AMNH, Genetics, Genomics, Genethics, Nursing. And when you click on that, it will take you into the course. So let's click on that hyperlink and take a look at what you're going to see when you go to that website. This is the AMNH Genetics course. When you click on it, you'll see the title, and under the title you'll see that there is a course quiz. For this quiz, you can take it as many times as you need to. It is a quiz that is not a WGU quiz. It's part of this study, so it's by the Museum of Natural History. The point of the goal of the quiz is to get 80%, and once you score 80% or higher on the quiz, you get a certification for the genetics. And that now gets directly uploaded to WGU. But you need to save that certification because later in leadership, in your last class, you're going to build a portfolio and you're going to need your certification from this. So save it on something other than just your computer, because those are known to crash. So you can email it to your mentor. You can email it to yourself. You can put it on a flash drive if you're not going to lose it. But you want to make sure that you save that certification for later on. The genetics course is broken down into 4 weeks on the website, but it really just takes a long weekend. So don't get freaked out and think that it's going to be a super long course. What I recommend is taking the quiz like a pre-assessment first, kind of see what they want you to know, and then go through the material. Each time you take the quiz, it will be different, so you can't just repeatedly take it and finally just learn the answers. But it isn't, with being able to take it as many times as you need to, you may as well take it first and see what it is that you have to do here. And this is part of finishing care of the older adult. Once you pass your final OA and this, then you're all done with older adult. Important aspects of your courses of study are the defined competencies, your learning resources, which are what is required of you to learn from in order to demonstrate competency. Your course mentor contact is important, as well as the assessments through PAs and OAs. Competency units are similar to credit hours in other universities that you're familiar with. A competency unit is equivalent to 1 semester credit of learning. As you saw on your degree plan, there's CUs for each course. And remember, as undergraduate students, you're expected to complete 12 CUs or more in each term. Students who are veterans or use educational benefits that are receiving military tuition assistance may have different requirements. Full-time veterans will take 18 plus credit units, and three-quarter time veterans will take 13 to 17. 12 or less are considered part-time for their military benefits. WGU practices competency education. Students receive a mark of pass or not pass on their permanent academic record for all courses of study for which they enroll in a term, regardless of whether they attempt an assessment. That means you have to complete all 12 courses in your term in order to have them all show as passed. If you don't complete the 12 that you enrolled in, then it will show as a fail on your transcript. And you'll get the opportunity to pass it in the next term, but it is a permanent mark on your transcript. So just to reiterate, you have to pass all competencies in your term that you are enrolled in. And that includes classes that you may accelerate. If you accelerate a class and you enroll in it in that term, you have to pass it in that term in order for it to not be a fail on your final transcript. All courses at WGU are graded as a B. You may pass it higher than a B level, but being a competency-based school, you won't have GPA differences. Everybody's GPA is 3.0 that finishes school here. So that's important to remember as you're thinking about future plans if you need to have a higher GPA than a 3.0. We have two kinds of assessments at WGU. Assessments, which are your scored assignments. They are the projects, papers, and presentations. Performance assessments are the tasks that you're going to turn in through task stream. Your directions and rubrics will also be in a task stream for these assessments. It's very important to print and read the directions and rubrics before starting a project and also before submitting that project. Your assignments are graded off of the rubric, and you will want to make sure that you meet all the rubric criteria before submitting a project to ensure that you don't have to submit again after it's been evaluated. Objective assessments are the proctored or computer-given tests, which may include multiple choice items, multiple select items, matching short answer, drag and drop, point and click items, or essays and case studies. Some courses will have a combination of OAs and PAs, and some will have just one or another. It's based on how you are required to demonstrate competency in your course. OAs can be taken at home with your proctored camera, or they can be taken at a testing site. And that's something you can discuss with your student mentor as well. OA, you have a pre-assessment. And students are required to attempt a pre-assessment before they get approval from their student mentor to take the objective assessment. OA approval can only be made by a student mentor after the student has completed at least one attempt at the pre-assessment. And it is highly recommended that you don't try and take the final until you've passed a pre-assessment. That's a very big indication as to whether or not you're ready to pass that material and demonstrate competency. If you're not passing PAs, it's time to get a hold of that course mentor and start bringing your team together to help you be successful before you take the OA. Students are allowed to take a pre-assessment a maximum of 3 times. And as I said before, pre-assessments are all the same test. So by the 3rd time, it's not as helpful as you think it might be. Very specific communication policy. Students and mentors are required to maintain frequent communication with each other. To assure that communication takes place, student and mentors meet at least as often as detailed in the protocol. During the first term, the mentor and student meet each week by phone for a substantial discussion about engaging learning and assessments until the student reaches OTP, meaning the student's progress reflects that he or she is meeting on-time progress towards graduation. That's OTP. After the first term, the student who meets OTP and the mentor meet at least once every 2 weeks by phone for a conversation about their progress, setting your goals. And that's your job. We support you in your goals, but we want you to set your goals, and we'll discuss them and help you to reach them on our weekly calls or bi-weekly if you're reaching OTP and you're past your first 6 months. For students on financial aid warning, probation, or falling behind OTP, the mentor and student have to go back to weekly calls so that they can engage and help the student to get back on OTP and back on track to earn that BSN. If a student misses a regularly scheduled call, the mentor will immediately send you an email requesting that you reschedule that appointment. Students who do not respond to this email or other phone outreach within the next 15 days will be deemed inactive and reported to the mentoring team manager. The mentoring manager and the mentor will contact inactive students via telephone and email prior to initiating administrative withdrawal. Inactive students who fail to reestablish phone contact with the mentor within 20 days of the initially missed call will be administratively withdrawn from WGU. Registration is what you'll do with your course mentor. You can enroll until the first of the month, but you can, if you finish orientation, get started in your first class before that. During enrollment, you and your mentor will discuss your start and end dates. Your projected graduation date will be set, and you will approve your assessments. Your obligations at enrollment are tuition and the completion of assessments. Financial aid will be distributed around the 20th of your first month. It's a little slower for the first term. Recommended internet browsers at WGU are Mozilla and Google Chrome. If you don't have those downloaded on your computer and you're not used to using them, download them and make yourself do it, because Internet Explorer and Safari do not play nice with our system. And you will be working along fine, and all of a sudden you can't open videos, or you don't even know they're there. You can't even enroll in an Internet Explorer. So you can download Chrome on tablets if they are ran by Safari regularly. So this is something important, and it will save you a lot of hassle later. If you're having a lot of problems with your computer and it doesn't seem to be working well with our system, call IT right away, because you may have things downloaded or need to upload something that will let you get through your classes easier. It flows very well, so you shouldn't have to fight with what you're doing in order to get to where you need to go in your classes. Resources. Your student success community you have to go into for orientation, and generally students go into it as quickly and out of it as quickly as they can. But take some time and look around. There's a lot of information there that you may not need now, but you might need later. There's a lot of ways to get started and plan the way that you're going to set up your weeks with your 20 hours of studying and your study space and your entire life that's about to change, because full-time school is a lot of school. The Center for Writing Excellence has information about APA writing. There's information and live webinars about writing for nursing school, which is way different the way we normally write. And there's also WellConnect, which has all sorts of wonderful resources for you and your family for all the things that happen in life. Your action items are your homework. Look through your degree plan and your courses of study. Think about when you'd like to graduate. Play with that time calculator and see what you have to do instead of telling your student mentor when they ask when you want to get done, that you want to get done in a year without really seeing. Full time is 4 classes. That's full time school. So saying that you're going to do 8 classes in 6 months is twice as much time as full time. So make sure that you're thinking soundly and that you've worked out some of that. Prepare for your next mentor call and be prepared to discuss what you would like to work on in your first term. Most mentors will start with care of the older adult, but after that we have to get into your prereqs before we will go on to the rest of your nursing classes. It's part of our requirement, so just kind of be aware of that. You need to finish orientation before the 5th of the month. Once orientation is done and you've turned that little flag blue, you can start on your first course. You can start it before the first day of your term. So get orientation done. Let's get moving on this bachelor degree. And please make sure you email your mentor if you have any questions. We want to help you. We want your success. But we need you to tell us when you need us. So come prepared to your next call with your mentor. If you have questions, write them down. That way we can go through them step by step and answer all your questions. And know that your next call with your mentor will be 45 minutes long. So make sure you plan that and that you're on your computer and ready to have a quality call with your mentor who really wants to just simply help you. Good luck on getting your BSN. This is going to change the kind of nurse that you are for the rest of your life. So good luck. Thank you.